Hey guys, welcome back to my cosplay competition video series. Today we're going to be talking all about prejudging. If you missed the previous videos, you can find links to that down in the description below. But for now, let's get into it. I just want to run through some advice I have for packing your costume to take to the competition. Personally, I like to store my competition costumes in those big plastic tubs. This is so they won't get damaged during traveling or storage, but it does depend on how you are getting there. If, for example, you're taking public transport, that really isn't a good option, so try getting a hard shell suitcase instead. Stuff and bubble wrap everything you think is breakable, and also pack things you might need if something breaks. This could be anything from a soldering iron and solder to a hot glue gun. A needle and thread is always a good call too. Also, please bring an iron or a steamer. Please, you'll thank me. So, what should you do before you go into prejudging? Or hell, before you even leave the hotel room? First, make sure any repairs that need doing are done. Second, please iron or steam your costume. If you're going into prejudging with a wrinkly costume, it will count against you. Personally, I prefer to take a steamer because I don't trust myself ironing. I always worry that I'm gonna burn the costume. You can get really cheap clothes steamers for like 20 quid. And honestly, the investment is so worth it. Not just for wig styling, but for making sure your costumes aren't creased and wrinkly. Okay, so you've got to the con. What now? If you signed up to the competition beforehand, then they'll probably have told you exactly where to go. But if not, it doesn't hurt to ask a member of staff working there where you need to go. The cosplay staff section will usually have given you a time slot that you need to be there for your prejudging. If there is a mirror, make sure you give yourself a full once over in it. If not, use your phone. Make sure that your wig hair isn't too messy from the journey to the con. Make sure everything is sat in the right place. And also go through your build book and refresh your memory on the things that you want to talk about when you're in there. If you've not already been told, you can talk to the organisers to find out how long you will have to communicate with the judges. It usually ranges from 2 to 4 minutes. It can be longer if you're in a group. And plan what it is that you want to say. It's your turn. You're entering the room. What happens now? If you brought your build book, hand it to one of the judges, and then once you are told your time has started, talk top to bottom or bottom to top. Going this way makes sure that you do not miss any part of your costume, and it's much easier to get your thoughts organised. If you submitted the build book online before the con, then sometimes the judges, before prejudging or after prejudging, will go through the build book themselves. So don't feel disheartened if they don't go through the build book you gave them at the prejudging. They probably just want to use that time to look at the actual costume in front of them. Also, be sure to get your book back afterwards. Mention the things that are in your build book, what materials you used, any techniques you used. If there's something complicated that you're proud of, mention that. It's going to be very hard, but try not to get stressed. But if you do, don't worry. Most people that do prejudging get stressed. Hell, I've judged more competitions than I've entered, and I always get stressed with prejudging. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Do not mention anything negative on your costume. The judges might not notice it. Whilst you're talking, the judges might circle you like sharks to check out your costume. Honestly, I kind of enjoy this bit because I'm like, yeah, look at all this I made. Look at the back of it. I worked so hard on the back and no one ever sees the back. Look at the back of the costume. Look at the back of the costume. It's so much more fun than the front. Most of the time they will be flipping seams, having a look at parts of your costume, touching it, feeling the fabrics, and looking for anything that might be like lined or something they've seen in your build book that they want more information on. Sometimes judges ask questions, sometimes they're silent. It varies. But if they do have questions, be sure to answer them best you can. It is normal to forget things and not mention them, don't worry. The judges are cosplayers too and will see what you have done and they will understand. If you did any voice acting in your performance, now's a great time to mention that. And it'll be over before you know it. I'm going to walk you through a couple of my costumes right now to show you what I would be looking out for as a judge. Some negatives, some positives, and we'll go from there. So as a judge, I would be lifting these areas. I would be flipping seams and making sure that everything is neat and tidy under here, like so. I would be making sure that these parts all lined up with each other. Some judges would have a go at that because this bit is a smaller distance than here, but most judges wouldn't notice it. So I'm pointing it out right now because I know the flaws in my own design. But if I choose not to mention this, they might not notice it. So like a bit here, if they lifted up this and saw this bit, they might be like, that's okay. But if they looked at this bit, they might be like, oh, that's not so good. Parts of note is all the neat top stitching along the edges of everything. And I mean everything, even along these bits here. However, this part, you can see the lining based on where it sits. You can see a glue stain here and a glue stain here. These are deductible points, or at least not as many points. Everything on my costume is weathered right down to these parts here. And if you come down here and flip it, you'll see the seams are very nice and neat, even underneath. This is extra points. This bag was the first thing I made of my old Bennett. So it is very old, and my skills have gotten so much better since this, and I am not happy with it at all. Like, it is decent, don't get me wrong. I've improved it. However, the edges on this, where I wrapped the foam in fabric, are not neat at all. This is clearly just cut out and stuck on there, so it doesn't have much realism. The same goes for these parts, just very messy overall. It looks handmade, you know? It's great, and it does the job. The map is great. However, I am not happy with the quality of this bag, and I will redo it at some point if I feel the need. But again, I am just giving you examples of what judges might look for, and it depends per judge. Some judges just care more about some things than others based on their own experience, and that's perfectly fine. For example, this is my Barbie Fairytopia costume. I will never be entering this in a competition because I'm not happy with the quality of it. I also did not make the wings, so I wouldn't be getting any points for that. It would just be the corset and skirt. That isn't technical enough for me to want to enter it in a competition. But let me show you why I wouldn't want to enter this in a competition. For starters, this bit here just does not sit properly. Can you see how it falls down there and doesn't go up because this bit's sewn here? And it's got these lines going across it here from where it doesn't sit nicely, so I don't like that. I hate the edging I did on this. It's so fluffy and not very nice at all to look at. However, some good things of note is if they flip my petals, everything is lovely and neat. And there is airbrushing skills used to create the designs on the petals, like veins, which I really like. It is also a boned corset. All the boning is hidden in the lining, so you don't see the boning channels. When it comes to foam work, for example, let's look at this Wanderer's hat. Now, for clarity here, I did not make this. This is from AliExpress, but you can see the foam joins of the layers. And this is what I mean when I talk about wanting these seams hidden. Ideally, you should put some quick seal or something like that down there. There are plenty of tutorials online for hiding seams, and you can sand the hell out of that so that the surface is not as rough, because this is, I don't know if you can hear that. That is really rough. So I'd want that to be as smooth as everything else is on top so that it all blends in. But yeah, that's prejudging, and honestly, for me, it's one of the scariest parts of competing. But now that that's out of the way, you can focus on your performance, having fun, and seeing what the results are gonna be. In the next video, I'm going to be talking to you about before, during, and after your performance. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit like to support the channel. Got any tips or tricks of your own, or any questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll be sure to get to them. And of course, make sure to subscribe to see more videos. Can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye guys!